Welcome everybody to the third night of the Spring Rights Literary Festival. This is a program of the Community Arts Partnership of Tompkins County and one of the many programs and services that we have for Tompkins County artists, arts organizations, and audiences. I am Robin Schwartz. I'm the Program and Grant Director of the Community Arts Partnership. And our website, if you want to check it out, artspartner.org, I just put it at the top of the chat along with the springrights.org website, which I know you've been at because you had to register for this event. So I have a co-host on the call, Leah Davis, and she's helping me with all the technical stuff. And if you ever need technical help with a Zoom call or just somebody else to be on the call, Leah is always available for that. As most of you know, there's about 15 more events that are going to happen tomorrow night. Well, tonight too. There's 2 events after this, and then tomorrow night. And then next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, there are also more free Spring Rights events. Also, the workshops this year, the writing workshops, are going to be December through March. I decided to spread them out. I want to thank our sponsors, our very generous sponsors. Ithaca College, Wegmans, the Odyssey Bookstore, M&T Bank, the Ithaca Marriott, and we also have funds from the New York State Council on the Arts and Poets and Writers. If you would like to support the Community Arts Partnership and everything we do with our tiny staff, I am 50% of the staff, that would be amazing. It's support not only for the festival, but for everything that we do in the community. Any amount is great, and there is a PayPal link up in the chat. So you are on mute, and throughout this call, please use the chat function to communicate, make comments during the event, say hi to people. You could, if you haven't used chat, you could send a message to just one person, or you could send it to everyone. And if you have any, it's just fun to keep looking at the chat. It's your way to kind of join in and make this a lively event. So this call has 3 events. First, right now, the Thursday's read, and then at 6 o'clock, at 6 o'clock, there's the reading and panel, Crafting the Life in Progress. And then at 7 o'clock, there's a group reading called Life's a Joke, a reading to make you laugh if it doesn't make you cry. So again, thank you for joining us. And I'm now going to turn the mic over to Rob Sullivan.
For the purpose of this event, we call ourselves the Thursdays. For over 20 years, a group of writers met with the wonderful author and champion of words, Z. Zahava. She facilitated and encouraged hundreds of us to express our feelings, memories, and insights on the page and out loud with the group. Her always supportive feedback gave many a shy author the strength to share their personal and the universal. We 3 are but a sampling of the many who came before us. Thanks to the Community Arts Partnership, and especially to Robin and Leah. And my name's Rob Sullivan. I'll start out tonight, our trio. And I got into writing, particularly in retirement from the post office. And I was encouraged to write a book about my life in the post office from Z. And so I want to do a few selections from that. I also have been a disc jockey for many years, so I've always had a great love of words. And I feel very, very honored to be part of the Thursday group over these last 7 years for me, but it's been going for quite a while. Here's a book that I wrote, postscripts, and about my life at the Ithaca Post Office. And here's a few selections. Here's your paycheck. Each tax season, several customers would pound their tax returns down on the counter and proclaim loudly, "Here's your paycheck," to which I would reply in professorial tones, "Ah, there is a common example of ignorance. Many have made the same mistaken claim. The truth is, this small, amazing, inexpensive stamp in the upper right corner is what pays my wages, and your tax payment has nothing to do with it. Our first postmaster, Benjamin Franklin, I've thought of him many times in my career in the post office, and here's a poem that I hope he would like. Penny wise, pound foolish. Our first postmaster, General Benjamin Franklin, was known for many accomplishments. For one, he slept in many beds and seemed to enjoy his stays. He also hired many known appointees as postmasters so that they might have added influence on their work, and many had the name Franklin. He adapted one of the best postal systems in the world to model our newborn country's service after the French, because we weren't on speaking terms with the English. Besides being an inventor and a brilliant Renaissance man, he was known for using wise proverbs. Rumor has it, he has rolled over in his grave often. In recent times, many decisions to cut corners, reduce staff and service, to decrease training and supplies made penny wise, pound foolish as timely as ever. And I wrote 3 poems about the post office in my group. And when I wrote the third one, my friend Z said, you must write a full book about this. So this was the one that tipped the scales. It's called Postage Stamps. Mucilage backing paper portraits of dead white men magically became ready to adhere to the upper right corner. Now the joy of the mystical, marvelous, miraculous mission commences. A handsome passport across town and globe. Thousands upon millions upon billions of epistles, missives, and announcements are carried to the ends of the earth with an address, a wing, a prayer, bringing good news and cheer to the struggling and worried, giving hope and support to the tired and suffering. A bit of history, a morsel of culture, a thing of beauty, a trace of whimsy. The stamp heralds, portends the breadth and scope of a message written, folded, and enveloped. The image of the scene says as much about the sender as about the subject, commemorated, depicted, and celebrated. For the price of a postage stamp, one could send a letter from Puerto Rico to the bottom of the Grand Canyon to be delivered by mule train. If the person had moved, it would be forwarded free to northern Alaska, delivered by dog team. If they moved again back to Puerto Rico, another free trip to finally reach the addressee. Not too shabby for 49 cents, an inexpensive way to show you care. And in the group, we write from a spark. And this, if I can bring this up. Okay. This is a more recent poem that I wrote from a spark. Begin with a dream. Water seeks her own level, flows where she will, can and does whatever is necessary to return to the sea, to the air, to the earth, to mold or wash away the ephemeral, the temporal, the sacred and the profane. The water of the mind might be dreams, for in the dreaming there is power, Yes, mighty force of what might be one day, a new and different way to see the world and to relate and behave. Singleness of purpose begins with, is sustained by, transforms because of one overarching dream, repeated as mantra and chant, despite what the present purports to be fixed and final. And here's another one that came from a spark in our group. I get up early. I get up early to catch the rays before sunrise. Light streams from energy-saving bulbs. In the quiet time of the world and my mind, thoughts turn down quaint side streets to find rear entrances to museums and libraries. Security guards keep everything safe, so my wanderings have opportunity and motive. I get up early to put a special twist on all I've seen or imagined, and then get it down on paper or on a screen to be retrieved for pruning or bolstering, or toss it on the phrase heap for parts. I get up early to listen more closely, to write what God is whispering, to write down my response to all the love there is. Well, I'd like to send us back across now to one of my cohorts. This is Mara Alper.
Hi, I am Mara, and I mostly have been a media artist making video art and documentaries, but I have always loved writing and dancing. So I'm going to read 4 short pieces. The first one is from my New York City jazz period in the 70s. Late night rides down city streets, safe and enchanted as I cycle through pools of yellow streetlight, shadow, light, shadow, the long way down Bleecker Street from Hudson to Bowery to hear jazz. The place is the Tin Palace. Big names play this small club, and tonight it's McCoy Tyner and his band. I get a glass of wine, stand at the back, and drink in the rhythms. Feet move to the bass, arms with the wily sax, and shoulder rolls with McCoy's piano. I dance on a patch of 12 by 12 tile because you get called out if you move too much. The club's cabaret license forbids dancing, an olden law from licentious days when who knows what dancing might lead to. It leads to the bass player coming up to me during their break and saying, all honey and chocolate, I saw you dancing back there. You get my beat just right. He is dark-eyed fire that warms me well, and now he invites me as his guest for their gig next week at the Village Vanguard. It's so close to where I live, I don't even need to ride my bike. We become lovers. It didn't hurt that I owned a small Datsun pickup truck, just the right size to carry his double bass. But he didn't know that when we started. Just my dance, just our sweet rhythm and roll. I heard about their tours, McCoy's temper, the welcoming ways of Europeans, the harsh bigotry at home. His bass lost on a transatlantic flight that he mourned and McCoy ignored. The smoldering anger, the soul cries. He shot up, he cooked coke. One night he showed up at my place with a buddy, and too late I realized they shot up in the bathroom. His buddy came out with a tight face. Don't call the cops, he warned. He flashed a gun and fled. There was my lover on the bathroom floor, barely breathing. I held his head for hours as he returned to life. When dawn crept in, we meandered uptown to his place, had a quiet day, simple night. I could only guess the pain that propelled him, the stories that made his music so intensely beautiful. We drifted apart as late night lovers do. Later, I thought of him when I made a mask of a bull's head woven in dark brown velvet with fierce, soft eyes, the Minotaur, worn by a dancer to tell the ancient tale of torment. Later, I rode my bike down the street and saw him. He asked, "Did you write that poem I saw at the club? Your bass was my body, your fingers found my chords and played them like they've never been played before." We embraced, still warm after all that time. Later, I searched for him on the internet, but he had become invisible. A few years after the jazz period, I traveled to Europe and ended up living in a cave on Crete for a few months. And this is a short intro to that story. The Mediterranean is spread before me, low lapping waves on a stony shore. I gaze at it every day, all day. The village is small and far away. I can't see it from my cave. Each day I rise with the sun, descend the hill and swim. I leave everything behind except the sarong wrapped around me. When I reach the water, I leave that behind too. It suits me well to float naked and sleep inside the earth. I find work in the village washing dishes after dinner at a small restaurant. They give me free food and some money that pays for my breakfast at Nico's Cafe by the sea. Late each morning, I wind my way down the narrow path through sagebrush and thistles, past grazing goats, barking dogs, and always the sound of the sea, thalassa. Nico serves strong Greek coffee in a copper pot, pours it slowly into a small white cup. After a while, you're welcomed into the kitchen to pour your own. Nico sits outside and plays with his young daughter. A few more weeks and he shows us where things are kept and we make our own food. We still pay and everyone is happy. There are 5 or 10 of us, all travelers who wandered here and stayed. No need to rush our slow breakfast or languid lunch. The day is spent slowly sipping, eating, talking, mostly in English, but sometimes German, Greek, French, Italian, depending on who's there. On weekends, the families of the fishermen come down from the mountains to eat, drink, swim. Musicians come from all over to Nikos. Greeks and travelers play guitars, bouzouki, flute. When a strong rhythm moves me, I gather my courage and dance at the edge, shy. But families wave me over, call me the girl who dances, and week after week offer me beer, oranges, and cakes. Why a cave, you may ask? It feels like home to me. A connection to old mysteries, my back against the earth, eyes towards sky. I hear ancient voices, seek I know not what, but give myself the space to find it. Living inside this pocket of earth opens me wide to the stars, to moonrise, moonset, and each phase of its graceful journey. I gaze beyond the finite, untethered in time. One night, the clouds shape themselves into a bird and wrap their billowing wings around the moon's full circle and carry her away. The next day, I paint the moonbird on my cave wall with the azure, sepia, ochre colors of old Minoan Crete. Rain will wash it away one day, but not now, not for a while. So this piece, I was about to write about a tea ceremony when a tick bit me. And this is what happened. I call it peace, panic, peace. The path is never straight. It curves through stones and rocks to a door so low we must bow down to enter. Inside, a small alcove holds a slender vase with a single flower, perhaps a purple iris blossom with a radiant orange heart. The floor in the small room has a hole in the center with a metal brazier warmed by hot fire. Water boils inside. Early this morning, I find a hard brown kernel attached to my skin, red all around. Panic spikes me towards the tweezers, and I pull straight out, but its small legs and body resist. Cling fast till I dig deeper, pull hard, and the bastard comes out, but not before its poison spreads and reddens my belly. But I've done everything right. No walks in the woods, no tall grasses, and still this invader attacks. A deer walks by my window and seems to smile. Innocent vehicle of harsh disease. We sit quietly in a circle on the floor around the fire. The tea master slowly passes one wooden utensil at a time, and we each take it, slowly run our eyes over the curved wood, our hands along its smooth grain. The graceful handle fits perfectly in our palms. We pass it on, gaze at the coals beneath the brazier till the next object arrives, and we slowly extend our hand to receive it. It isn't the end of the world. The doctor will see me at 11:15. The medicine will cure it, but still I feel invaded, vulnerable, pissed. A theft of security, a tiny rape of skin penetrated against my will. But why the strong reaction to this tiny, treatable bite? Perhaps it is the aftershock of seeing my friend's palsy last night, her jerking motions almost beyond control, her waning strength and valiant spirit, our vulnerability. Sudden falls into deep holes break our limbs, sudden crashes into cars steal our lives, sudden onset illness shatters our world. All we want is to go back to the time before, but it is no more. Electrons can go backward in time, but we, alas, cannot. Each teacup is unique. The touch of fire on clay is unpredictable. Dark ash here, slight blue there. We turn them slowly, absorb each mark, revel in the smooth rim that will touch our lips. The secret of the empty bowl beckons. Inside the empty space, nothing, everything. And this last one. Oh, soft touch on breasts makes my tail waggle, makes my spine move serpentine, gets this old girl's juices flowing. And why not? Ain't I a woman? Still a woman, always a woman, howling in my moon cave. Thank you. And I pass this along to Barbara.
Hi, I'm Barbara Anger, and I have this thing in front of me that says unmute myself, but I think I am unmuted. All right, there. Okay, so I am working on a story that was inspired by my father. And in the 1950s, he was a New York City cop. And he went underground as a Jewish mobster to break up the numbers racket, which is a little like a complicated lotto game, except it's illegal. At the time, I was 11 years old. And so this is the crypt sheet I'll give you for the first story, or first. Al is the undercover cop, and his alias is Alborg. Bo is the mafia boss, and he's the head of the West Side Gang. And then there is Randy, who was part of the gang, one of Bo's good soldiers, except he has turned to become an informant because of some revenge that is too long to talk about. And then there's Chief Donnell, who is the head of the Sting, who wants to get rid of both the East Side and the West Side gangs. Okay. At a hole-in-the-wall diner, Al was sitting across from Randy and Chief Donnell. Ah, for fuck's sake. They had just shown Al Raymond Brown's obit. Al pointed to the obituary. He had an exuberant laugh and grew up across from the Yankee Stadium. Is that all they could say about him? Well, he did have a good laugh, Randy said, and that man knew the streets. He could enlist any kid in Harlem as a runner. His killing, no thanks to the East Side, must have pissed Bo off good. Yeah, but does Bo see it as the East Side? Al threw the paper on the table. Do you think he's onto something about me? Slow down, Al, said the chief. Why would he suspect you? You want to buy into Bo's business. You want to grow it. That's so, agreed Andy. Someone offed him because he was taking West Side kids away from the East Side. Remember, East Side owns Bo. The chief took a sip of coffee. Poor Raymond. They both looked at the chief. What are you talking about, looks? It's this way. He was one of our stoolies. He essentially was a good guy. He treated those kids well. He gave extra out of his own pocket to the 11 and 12-year-olds doing some of the dirty work. He even fingered a few of our cops on the take. Of course, we gotta wait till we take everyone in before we root out those bad apples. He shifted his weight and looked directly at Al. Now, our Alberg, you gotta find out their drop spots before more heats up. It's time to set you up in a better situation. You think they knew about that he was a snitch? Asked Al. I don't think so. Just like me, he was an ex-con and groomed by Bo after he got out of Sing Sing, said Randy. Guess we're lucky you both turned. With that, Randy flipped his lighter open and rubbed his thumb over the wheel till he got a constant flame. He picked up the twisted straw cover that was sitting on his plate of half-eaten fries. He lit it. They all watched the thin paper burn till it got close to his fingers. Then he stubbed it out into a glob of ketchup on top of the fries. After which he put the lighter in his pocket and looked Al in the eyes. Look, I'm driving Bo home every day. I can see his nerves are up. I can tell he's got a taste for your money. This thing with Raymond only made his desire to get out of the racket stronger than ever. That is, before the East Side puts a mark on him. So you think Raymond's killing is a sign to Bo? The chief took the paper and folded it. Look, Al, and you too, Randy. It is incumbent on you guys to get this thing moving. My crew and on the East Side is getting closer. We have to time it right, or we'll miss out on taking the whole caboodle. The chief tapped the paper. Just to inform you, when the ambulance got there, they found a little black boy holding a bag of numbers, crying over the bleeding Ray. The chief looked away. What can I say? He wasn't so good after all. Okay, the next one is about Al and his family. At the dinner table, everyone was talking at once. They were all excited. Daddy was home. Al had gotten his orders to stay undercover as Alborg. The chief signaled that he again needed to press on for several days. Do whatever you can to get that damn crook Bo to trust you. We're on a tight schedule. Things are cooking up on the East Side and we need to go in soon. Go home, have a good dinner and pack your things. After his meeting, Al closed his eyes and pictured home. He imagined dinner time. Al breathed in the smell of baked potatoes. He saw steam rising and a thick slice of butter melting in the open top of the potato. Stevie was chewing his peas and potatoes, sticking out his tongue full of mushed up food. Russ and he were competing to gross each other out. From across the table, Opal was smiling at him. Karen was pointing to Lou's inside out shirt. There was a patch of sunlight moving across his heart. Al was so happily connected to this warmth emanating from the room, he didn't see a cloud race over his head. But Opal saw it. It looked exactly like the cloud she saw over her mother's head when Opal told her that she was moving to New York with Al. Her mother's only response was, "Find a way or make one." Now she felt in the middle of the unknown. Al was going to be gone for who knew how long. Would she find her way with him, or would she make her own way? She wanted to find her way with Al and the kids. So she let herself get distracted by the energy that surrounded the table. Al was looking at Lou. "Why do you have your shirt inside out?" "She's doing it on purpose," Karen interrupted. Lou sat up. "I'm making a statement. Russ and Steve are helping." Then she noticed they had turned their shirts right side out and brushed their hair for Daddy. "I guess it's just me." "And what would that statement be?" Lou said, It's like this. Until I find out." "Find out what?" "Find out why you're gone so long." Al couldn't keep from laughing. "It's not funny." "I know it isn't." He looked at Opal. Her face said, "Well, you see," Al said, "I'm on an important case that causes me to be out at night. Seeing you care so much makes me feel like we'll crack it because I got your support." Lou stood up. "Excuse me." She pushed her chair away from the table and left. Looks went around, but in a short time, Lou was back with her shirt right side out. Al said nothing. He just smiled at Lou. After that, Opal saw herself walking on a path with Al and the kids. As for Lou, this was the moment she decided to become a detective and help her dad. All right, the last one, which I hope is short because I think we're almost at the end, is Al and his mother. Al stood in front of his mother's place. He touched the mezuzah on the doorpost and walked in. The apartment smelled of boiled chicken and stewed prunes. "Mom, I'm here." His mother walked in carrying a basket of laundry. "What are you doing here?" "Let me take that." "You should be up at the hospital giving Pop a shave." He took the basket from his mother and she rubbed the small of back. "You shouldn't be doing this." "Who can then?" "I told you I'd buy you a washing machine and a dryer. No more washing in the tub." "I should want a big ornament standing in my living room." "We'll put it in the kitchen." "So I can bump my elbows on it while I'm cooking for Pop?" "Kitchens are for cooking." Al set her down on the clear plastic covered couch. "You rest. I'll get the soup for Pop." "Paulie already took it, but you can bring him the stewed prunes. It will help him be regular." Al stood there looking at his mother, her face as strong as ever, but her hands clasped tight, her apron. He thought, how can I tell her when she needs me, when Pop needs me? "Go get the prunes. Pop can't wait forever." "Mom, I can't be here this week for Shabbos. Something came up." "What are you talking about? Without Pop, we need you." "I'll be busy." I should have your problems. Is something wrong at home? No, no. Al found himself shifting back and forth. He went and sat next to his mother. He looked at her hands. He hadn't noticed before that they were so red and bony. She was rubbing her left thumb with her right thumb. Al covered her hands with his. Look, I'll be working and I'll be back in a couple of weeks. What kind of work keeps you from seeing Pop and me? It's the force. I have a new detail. And Opal and the kids? Al felt a stab in his gut. They'll be home. You can call her if you need anything. What does she know about Shabbos? She can help you with the laundry. Who's going to shave Pop? Matthias will do it. I'll call when I can. Mom straightened her apron. So, go. You do good work. Al stood up and kissed the top of his mother's head. Don't forget the prunes. Pop needs them. Al went into the kitchen. Standing on the counter next to the stove was a warm bottle of stewed prunes capped with wax paper and a metal lid. He took a couple of 20s out of his wallet. He was going to slip them under the silverware draining next to the sink, but he had second thoughts. He could hear his mother saying, "Why would you dirty my clean silverware?" He found himself laughing, so he put the 20s on the counter in place of the prunes. He called out, "I'll be going now. I got the prunes." Mom heard him open the door. "Don't slam it shut." "Yes, Mom." "You're a good boy." Al bound down the stairs. Each step brought him closer to his mission. This time, he didn't notice the peeling paint. He imagined his disguise and could feel his thoughts changing. Alborg was beginning to flow through his veins. Thank you so much. And I think we're out of time.
Yes.
Is that? I'm so
Yeah.
sorry we went over.
No, it was perfect, wasn't it? It's just
So.
perfect timing.
Great, great.
Thank you to Barbara Anger and Mara Alper and Rob Sullivan. I thought that was amazing.